Welcome back. If you watched part 1, you know we left off with a mystery that just keeps getting deeper. The magic bullet, the mysterious deaths. Dozens of witnesses saying the shots came from somewhere the government says they didn't. But tonight we're talking about the man himself, Lee Harvey Oswald. Because the more you learn about this guy, the less sense he makes. And I mean really doesn't make sense. Speaking of loose ends, let's talk about Lee Harvey Oswald himself. Who was this guy, really? Because the more you learn about him, the less sense he makes. The official story paints him as a troubled loner, a communist sympathizer who wanted to make a name for himself. Standard lone wolf assassin profile. And sure, there's evidence for that. He defected to Russia, he handed out pro-Castro literature in New Orleans, he seemed angry at the world. Classic disgruntled guy, right? But dig a little deeper and things get fuzzy. Real fuzzy. How did a supposed communist defector just waltz back into the United States during the height of the Cold War? Usually, defectors were watched like hawks, treated with suspicion, questioned endlessly. But Oswald? He comes home and the State Department even gives him a loan to help with the trip. Welcome back, comrade. Here's some money. No hard feelings. That strike you as normal? Because that doesn't strike me as normal. In New Orleans, Oswald was handing out those pro-Castro pamphlets I mentioned. But he was also reportedly seen with anti-Castro Cuban exiles. So he's helping Castro and the people who want to kill Castro? Some researchers say he was spotted in the company of people who might have been intelligence operatives. So which was he? Communist? Anti-communist? Double agent? Triple agent? At this point, I half expect to find out he was also working for the French Foreign Legion on weekends. There's even a former CIA finance officer who claimed that after the assassination, his colleagues told him Oswald had been receiving payments under a secret code name. The government investigated that claim and said it wasn't credible. Nothing to see here. Guy's making it up. Move along. But the fact that someone made the claim at all makes you wonder, doesn't it? And here's something really strange. Right after the assassination, FBI documents mention someone impersonating Oswald during phone calls to the Soviet embassy in Mexico City weeks before Kennedy was killed. FBI agents who heard recordings of these calls said the voice wasn't Oswald's. So we've got a fake Oswald running around making suspicious phone calls. Totally normal. Nothing weird about that at all. Who was pretending to be him and why? Was someone setting him up weeks in advance? These are the kinds of questions that keep conspiracy researchers up at night, pacing around their apartments with red string and pushpins. When police arrested Oswald, he told reporters, "I'm just a patsy." A patsy, someone being set up to take the fall. Was he? Or was that just what a guilty man would say to save his skin? We'll never know, because Jack Ruby made sure Oswald never testified, never told his full story, never had his day in court. Real convenient, that. So, if Oswald didn't do it alone, or maybe didn't do it at all, then who did? Oh boy, now we're getting into the really fun part. Over the years, people have pointed fingers in just about every direction imaginable. I'm surprised nobody's blamed aliens yet. Actually, scratch that. Somebody probably has. Let me walk you through some of the main suspects. Some folks think the mafia did it, and they had good reasons to hate Kennedy. Really good reasons. See, the president's brother, Robert, was Attorney General, and he was going after organized crime harder than anyone ever had before. Wiretaps, prosecutions, deportations. The Kennedy brothers were hitting the mob where it hurt. And the mob doesn't take kindly to that sort of thing. They're not exactly known for their forgiveness and understanding. There was this New Orleans crime boss named Carlos Marcello who allegedly threatened the Kennedys. And you know what's interesting? Marcello's lawyer was a man named David Ferry, who turns out to have known Oswald from years earlier when they were both in the Civil Air Patrol. Small world, huh? Real small. Then there's Jack Ruby. The Warren Commission said he was just an emotional guy who loved Kennedy, just a simple nightclub owner overcome with patriotic grief. Sure. But Ruby had documented ties to mob figures. He made phone calls to them regularly. His phone records looked like a mafia directory. Was he really just a distraught citizen, or was he a mob associate sent to silence Oswald before he could talk? I'll let you decide which one seems more likely. Other people think Cuban exiles were involved. See, Kennedy had authorized this invasion of Cuba, the Bay of Pigs, to try to overthrow Fidel Castro. It was a complete disaster, an absolute fiasco. The invasion failed spectacularly, and a lot of Cuban exiles blamed Kennedy for not giving them enough support, for backing out at the crucial moment. They felt betrayed, angry, bitter. Some of them were trained killers, trained by our own CIA in all sorts of nasty skills. Did they decide to take revenge? It's not as far-fetched as it sounds. Or maybe it was Castro himself who ordered the hit. Now that's a theory with some irony to it. The CIA had been trying to kill Castro for years, and I mean seriously trying. Plots involving poisoned cigars, exploding seashells, contaminated diving suits, even enlisting the mafia to help. They tried everything short of dropping an anvil on his head like in a cartoon. What if Castro found out about these plots and decided to strike first? You want to kill me? Fine. How about I kill your president? What if killing Kennedy was revenge? Turnabout is fair play, right? And then there's the theory that elements in our own intelligence agencies were involved. Now we're getting into real tinfoil hat territory, right? Except, maybe not. Some researchers believe the CIA orchestrated it. Why? Well, Kennedy had become disillusioned with the agency after the Bay of Pigs disaster. He reportedly said he wanted to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. That's not the kind of thing that makes you popular at Langley. He was also supposedly planning to pull out of Vietnam, which would upset a lot of powerful people who had interests in that war continuing. Defense contractors making bank, military brass wanting promotions, intelligence operatives running covert ops. War is profitable, you know. Documents released over the years show that the CIA sometimes withheld information from the Warren Commission. They had secrets they didn't want exposed. Oh, that? We forgot to mention that. Our bad. But that's a long way from orchestrating a presidential assassination, isn't it? Then again, if any organization could pull off such a thing and cover it up, it'd be the CIA. They've got experience in that department, if you know what I mean. Some theories go even higher up the chain, all the way to Vice President Lyndon Johnson. Now, I know that sounds crazy. I know it sounds like something out of a bad political thriller, but listen to the reasoning. Johnson became president because of the assassination. Quite the promotion, you have to admit. Some say Kennedy was planning to drop him from the ticket in 1964. Johnson had been involved in some scandals that Kennedy might have exposed. And Johnson himself, late in his life, reportedly told people he thought there was more to the assassination than the official story let on. Was he covering his own guilt? Dropping hints? Or did he genuinely suspect a conspiracy and was just too afraid to say so while he was in power? Your guess is as good as mine. Here's the thing about all these theories. Each one has some evidence, some suspicious connections, some compelling arguments, but none of them have the smoking gun, that one piece of proof that would settle it once and for all. It's all circumstantial, all suggestive, all, well, that's interesting, but... And that's what makes this mystery so maddening. Let me tell you about some of the problems with the evidence, because that's part of what keeps this mystery alive. The evidence in this case has more holes than Swiss cheese. When police first found the rifle at the book depository, officers identified it as a German Mauser. Then, later, the Warren Commission said it was an Italian Carcano. Now, how do trained law enforcement officers misidentify a rifle? These aren't exactly interchangeable weapons. It's like confusing a Volkswagen with a Cadillac. Some conspiracy folks think the weapon was switched. The government says it was just an honest mistake in the confusion of the moment. Sure, happens all the time, right? Cops just forget what guns look like. Then there are photographs of Oswald holding the rifle in his backyard. The Warren Commission said these proved he owned the weapon. Open and shut case, right? But critics have claimed for decades that these photos look fake. Weird shadows that don't match up, odd proportions, his head looks too big for his body. Modern computer analysis generally says they're real, but suspicions linger. And you know what? When you look at them, they do look kind of weird. Maybe it's just bad photography, or maybe someone got creative with a dark room and some scissors. The autopsy is another can of worms. Actually, calling it a can of worms is an insult to worms. Doctors at Parkland Hospital in Dallas described Kennedy's wounds one way, but the autopsy at Bethesda Naval Hospital described them differently. Different locations, different sizes, different everything. Some researchers, and I know this sounds like something out of a horror movie, suggest the president's body was altered between Dallas and Bethesda to hide evidence of shots from the front. They point to specific testimonies from people who saw the body at different stages. It sounds insane, I know, but they make detailed arguments about how it could have been done. And honestly, the fact that we're even having this conversation tells you how weird this case is. And then there's all the classified documents. Files related to the assassination were sealed for decades. Government says, we'll release them in 75 years. Just trust us until then. Even now, some remain partially redacted or restricted. Big black bars covering up the interesting parts. Why? The government says it's to protect intelligence sources and methods, national security, that sort of thing, the usual excuses. But critics say it's to hide the truth about what really happened. And you know what? After 60-plus years, if you're still hiding documents about a case that's supposedly solved, that's going to make people suspicious. That's just human nature. In 1976, Congress decided to take another look at the whole thing. Maybe the first investigation missed something, they figured. So they created the House Select Committee on Assassinations. Fresh eyes, new technology, let's see what we can find. And when they finished their investigation in 1979, their conclusion was shocking. They agreed Oswald fired shots, but they said Kennedy was probably assassinated as a result of a conspiracy. A conspiracy! The government itself admitting it wasn't just Oswald alone. That must have given the Warren Commission folks heartburn. They based this partly on acoustic evidence, recordings from a police motorcycle that they said captured the sounds of 4 shots, indicating 2 gunmen. Finally, proof! But here's the twist, because there's always a twist in this story. Years later, another group of scientists reviewed that acoustic evidence and said it was flawed. The recording was made after the assassination, not during it, they claimed. So even the second investigation got disputed. At this point, I think the universe is just messing with us. In 1992, Congress passed a law requiring all assassination-related documents to be released within 25 years. Okay, 25 years, then we'll tell you everything. Promise. That deadline came and went. Some documents were released, but others remained classified or heavily redacted. Every president since has extended the deadline, citing various reasons: national security, protecting sources, blah, blah, blah. Just recently, more files were released, but still not everything. After 60 years, there are still secrets. At this point, I'm half convinced they're just doing it to drive conspiracy theorists crazy. And it's working. So now you know the suspects. The Mafia, Cuban exiles, Castro, even our own CIA. And here's the wild part. We still haven't told you why this matters. Why a 60-year-old murder is still relevant today. Why governments still won't release all the files. Part 3 is where it all comes together. And trust me, the final piece of this puzzle will make you question everything you thought you knew about power, truth, and who really runs things. This is the episode you cannot miss. Hit subscribe, smash that notification bell, because Part 3 drops soon and it's going to blow your mind. See you there.